Good evening. Welcome to Restore. Tonight we are going to be starting on our backs. And so you can make your way to your mat and just have anything that you might need nearby. So things you might need. Maybe they are traditional yoga props, blocks and blankets and pillows and bolsters. Maybe there's books or cushions. Couch cushions work really well in place of a bolster like this. I am going to be using a strap tonight. So I've got a yoga strap, but a belt works, or even a longer towel, like a thin towel, like a tea towel, or something like that, so that you can use it kind of as a loop around your foot. And yeah, enjoy. So I'll make my way over to my mat and I'll meet you there. So as you come to lay down, make it comfortable for yourself. Often we put a bolster underneath the knees just to allow the hips to settle, to let the knees bend naturally. And bring your hands wherever they might be comfortable. If you need a little bit more nourishment, hands on the body, on the abdomen, the heart, or both. It feels nice. Or the hands can be open to the sky at the sides. If it's comfortable for you, you can close your eyes. And we start to settle into the body. As always, we start to tune into our own breath. We set the intention to let that breath be our guide this evening, or maybe it's daytime where you are, or when you're doing this class. But we watch the flow of the breath for cues and clues as to how the body is handling the shapes. You can watch for catches in the breath. You can watch it for how well you can release into a pose. Any pain or holding of the breath that happens, ease off a little bit. My theme this week has been all around intuition and awareness. Spending time with self and really, truly, deeply seeing that, trusting the wisdom that we have inside. We continue that theme today by recognizing that instead of this being an upward journey or a journey away to somewhere, it's actually a journey back to yourself, back to a familiar place, back to home, back to a place you'll always belong, you'll always be understood. Back to the very core of who you are. The more we get fiercely authentic, the more we radically love ourselves, more at home will feel at all times. Let's take 3 big deep breaths in this space. Inhaling fully and completely. Letting go with an exhale. Inhaling and releasing. An inhale feeds every part of your body. An exhale allows you to return back to the center. Slowly start to reach the arms up overhead, giving yourself a big stretch. Oh, maybe a yawn. Take the right wrist with the left hand and banana arch over to the left side. Settle into the floor. And feel that gentle stretch, that gentle tension along the fascial line on the right side. And then take the left wrist with the right hand and same thing on the other side. Settle into the earth. The shoulders fall back. And observe the flow up the left side of the body. And then back to center. Take any props out from under you if you had any. And I'm going to bring mine to the side. We're coming into a very gentle twist. So something to catch your knees as they come down to the side might be helpful. Feet will be hip width apart. You're going to lift up the hips and shift them over to the left slightly. And then let both knees fall to the right. And then, like I said, need that bolster or pillow or prop to catch the knees before they hit the ground. So we come to a very preliminary twist here. We're feeling it a little bit more in the lower body here. We're going to take it into more of the upper body too by, again, reaching those arms up overhead, maybe even taking that left wrist with the right hand and giving it a little tug away. Feel that length through the entire left side, this time all the way down through the left hip, and then the front of the left hip, the left leg, the lateral leg. And then all the way back up. And we're going to take that pillow maybe bolster over to the other side. Feet hip width apart. Lift up the hips, shift them slightly to the right. This time with the knees come to the left. Arms overhead, taking a hold of that right wrist, the left hand, perhaps. And come to the legs on this side. Beautiful. And the knees back up to the center. Shift the hips back to the center. Now, this next one you can do as a bridge pose. So elbows at the side, feet walking about sit bone width apart, closer in towards the sit bone. Then we can lift the hips here, pressing into the feet, the arms, the back of the shoulders, the back of the head. Or you could make this a supported bridge as well by drawing up that pillow or blocks or something that's covered with a blanket, especially blocks or books might need to be covered to make them a little bit softer for this practice. And making sure that the back of the pelvis and the sacrum land right there on that prop. And so this is a more passive, supported bridge here. The feet stay parallel, the knees stay facing up. But if you are supported here, you can just fully let go through the pelvis. Try to avoid letting the knees splay out to the side. If you're in full bridge, you're using all the contact with the earth to lift those hips towards the sky, rooting down and lifting up. And just let everything melt here. So if you're in full bridge, you can let those hips come down. Otherwise, stay here with the support underneath you if you have that support. And slowly bring one knee and then the other up. You can hold the knees in the hands. So if you have that support under you, your hips will be elevated. And you can hang here, suspending your legs in the air here, seemingly. If you don't have a prop underneath you, you can still do this, letting that sacrum really ground. And again, feeling those legs just suspended there. Now, if you do have a prop under you, you can experiment, draw those legs up straight, soles of the feet pointing up to the sky, and see if you can find that balance point where again, they just feel like they're hanging here. If you cannot find that place, you could also take a strap around those feet and hold them up there. And then the same position can apply if you don't have a support under you and you're just reaching those legs up. You may more likely need the strap around the feet to hold, or you can stay with the knees and the hands. Let the feet relax. Let the arms relax. And it's kind of like a legs up the wall pose without the wall. Trying to find the path of least resistance here, even though we are using some muscle energy to keep the legs up. We're finding this place of most ease. You could stay here You could also play with those legs a little bit. If you're feeling that, you could bring them out into a V, or you could bring the soles of the feet together, knees apart into a Baddha Konasana-like position here. And just play with that point of balance. You could still use that strap or towel to hold those, support the legs a little bit. And then for the last 2 long breaths, reach those legs up to the sky again. Maybe make a little bit of movement through the ankles and feet. And slowly bend the knees. If they weren't bent already, take the knees in the hands. You may even rock a little side to side. And then roll to the side very carefully off of your support. If you've had one there, take that support out beside you and rest for a moment. Take some time to perhaps bring the strap nearby so that you don't have to get up after the next sequence here. So after you've done whatever you need to do to move the energy through the lower body, maybe some windshield wipers or some wiggles, we're going to hug the knees in and give yourself a big hug. You can rock a little bit here as well. You can make some circles, massaging out the low back and the sacroiliac joints. And then either with the hands around that right shin or the right thigh, or even with a belt. Let's keep that right leg in and stretch the left leg out along the mat. Find a place where the left leg can reach the mat. So that might mean taking that right leg away from you. Find evenness through both sides of the sacroiliac joints. So both sides of the hips are evenly grounded. And then you can bring that knee in closer. Again, either with hands or belt, depending on how deep you want to go. Let the shoulders fall back. With every exhalation, imagine that big femur bone of the leg nestling deeper into the hip socket. With every exhalation, the muscles all around that hip joint, the abductors, the adductors, the flexors, the extensors, they're all softening to their original length. Our muscles too sometimes go astray from their original length, their original purposes due to lifestyle and positional changes, stress, etc. We give them this time to come back home as well. And then we'll take that right knee in the right hand and start to bring it out to the side. As far as it'll come, you can support it there with the right hand. If you do have your pillow handy, you could always have it there to catch that right leg. See if you can keep that left hip heavy, that left leg partially grounded. And then we'll start to bring it through the center, take it into the left hand, and ever so slowly. So I'm also taking my right thumb into the hip flexor there and keeping that hip flexor away from the head, keeping that waist long. And I'm slowly bringing that right knee towards the left, but not even so much that it's a twist. I'm actually trying to target the abductors here, all those muscles that laterally lift the leg out to the side, and then some of the glutes and the piriformis, and even some of those deep core muscles that attach the leg to the spine. And we come back to center, hug both knees in, give it a rock, and we'll go to the other side. So again, either using the strap or your hands, we extend the right leg out along the floor, keep the left knee in. Find evenness between both sides of the hips, the back of the hips, and then start to melt in that left hip socket. Every exhale allows the femur bone to settle. Every exhale softens the muscles 360 degrees around that hip joint. And then we can slowly start to bring that knee out to the left with the left hand, keeping that right hip heavy. Either resting that knee on something as it comes down or holding it there with your arm. You don't need to hold this one for long. Just getting some movement through that hip joint before we progress here. And then back up through center, take it into the right hand, take that thumb into the left hip flexor, keep that hip pressing away from you. Lengthen through the left side body as you take that left knee towards the right. And again, not all the way down to the earth or into a twist, just enough to start to feel that lateral hip, some of the back of the hip. And then back to center. Bring both knees in, give them a hug. Rock. So now we're going to do similar movement. You can stay with the bent knee, or you can take your belt or towel and loop it around that right foot this time. Bring the left foot to the earth, and then bring that right leg away so that it's at about a 90-degree angle to the floor, or even a little bit further away from you so you feel both hips ground. Come down your belt or towel as far as you can, but far enough so that your arms don't feel like they're stretching, your shoulders can settle back. And then draw that leg down towards the earth. That bottom knee may stay bent, foot on the floor. Perhaps it stretches out along the floor as well. We hold here. Feeling that stretch up the back line of the leg, from heel all the way up through the back of the knee, the hamstring, back of the hip, in the low back. Might start to come closer towards the face as you hold it here, without sacrificing the evenness of the hips on the earth or the length of the waist on both sides. And then we're going to take both ends of the belt into the right hand or your towel, or you could bend the knee again and take the knee into the hand. But we're going to bring that leg out towards the right. This time I have my bolster to catch my leg. I also have my strap to hold my foot right there and kind of give it feedback. My left hip, I just place a little bit of weight on it with my left hand. And that leg can be as close or far away from the face as needed. Or like I said, the knee can be bent again, coming down towards the side this time. Coming down enough to rest on something, perhaps. Stacked pillows, stacked blankets, couch cushion. And then all the way back up to center. And we're going to go to the other side. So you may need to switch which side your support is on. And that leg will fall towards the left. This time coming onto that left hip into a twist. If you do have a wall or a bed or a couch beside you, I highly recommend if you can plant your foot onto that surface, it can be very helpful as well. It's a support as well as a way to keep that leg integrated into the body. Your knee may be bent again if that's more comfortable, and that bent knee is coming down towards your support on the left. And then we come all the way back up to center. Bend that left knee and slowly release the right foot down. You can do anything you need to do, windshield wipers, shake out the legs, whatever helps on this side to clear. And then we're going to go to the left. So that left leg will come up and we loop around the left foot. Again, you could stay with the knee bent. You can bring that leg away from you so that the pelvis feels even on the floor behind you. And then maybe it comes closer to 90 or beyond, as long as we're not sacrificing the evenness of the pelvis on the floor and the length of the waist and the abdomen on both sides. The right leg might stretch out along the mat. I let my shoulders fall back towards the earth. And here we breathe again. Finding length through these places that often do get congested. We do flex often through our hips while we're seated, but our lower back tends to take the brunt of it as our knees are usually bent and the hamstrings shorten and tighten. So here we're encouraging length all the way up this back line. More length in the hamstrings means that the low back doesn't have to take the brunt of it every time we flex through the hips, the leg out straight. And training our body here, especially as we're on the floor, keeping that pelvis neutral. Training the body to know what it feels like to flex at the hip without rounding through that low back. Maybe it comes out in a little bit more. And now taking that belt in the left hand and that leg out to the left. Same thing applies here. If you have, of course, you can bring it down onto the cushion again, but if you have a surface on which you can press your foot into, feels really nice. You can bend the knee again if needed. And have something to catch you as that leg comes out to the side. You can place a little bit of weight on that right hip. To continue to allow that pelvis to open up towards the sky. And now bring that leg back up to center. Sometimes you need a little help. Switch the side of the support again as needed. Take the belt or the leg or the bent knee into the right hand and start to tip that leg to the right, coming over onto that right hip. Maybe there's something to support you as you come down. I'm going to do good. Bring that up. Oh, that's good. As we continue to pull that leg, if it's straight, into the hip socket, keeping it integrated into the body so the hips are just stacked. If the knees bent, continuing to try to lengthen through that left waist, keeping that space of the hip flexor down and away. And then slowly make your way back up to center. Bend the right knee. Bring the left foot to the floor beside the right. Maybe some side to side movements. Maybe you even want to check out what the legs feel like when they come to straight. And settle in. Those legs have come back online. They've woken up, they've reintegrated. They are home. So we're going to go a little bit deeper here. Have something perhaps to catch the bottom leg when we come into one-legged happy baby. But first we're going to start with two. So you could come back to this position with the knees in the hands, pelvis grounded on the floor. This may feel good for you. If you want to go a little deeper, bring those knees in, maybe a hug. Trying to keep as much of the pelvis still on the floor as possible. It's going to roll up a little bit. Maybe the feet come up towards the sky and we hold on to the shins or ankles, the toes, or maybe the outer edges of the feet.
And the arms will be coming on the inside edge of the knees. Coming into a happy baby here. Now we're getting a little deeper with those knees softened towards the ground. And again, try to draw that tailbone down and away from your head to ground as much of the pelvis as possible. And now you can either stay here in your happy baby or come into one-legged. So releasing the left leg, keeping the right leg as it is, and reaching that left leg out along your mat. It may not reach the floor. That's why I've got this pillow to catch it. And feel the difference there. Really deep into the hips. We may not leave the ground this entire class. I think we'll flip over for some balancing the front body after, but that's about it. Come all the way back. Take that left foot or ankle or shin, and then let that right leg stretch out. And feel that. And that left knee soften, letting that right thigh get heavy. It's almost like doing a lizard pose, but on your back. And then bring that right leg back one more time in happy baby for 2 long breaths. And then you can release whatever you have hold of. Hug those knees in. Do some rocks here. We're going to come into a supported twist. So again, you can have something to catch your legs as they come over to the side. The knees can come in as close as they want as the knees tip over to the right. Maybe that left shoulder comes to the earth. And then up through center and over to the other side. Knees come over to the left. As close in or far away as your body wants right now. Right shoulder stays on the ground. And back up to center. Do whatever you need to do on this side. And then we're going to flip over onto the abdomen. Take a moment to just ground here. Make a little triangle for your forehead with your hands. Shake those hips out. And see what it feels like to be on the floor here. Feel the front body fully supported. The thighs melting into the earth. Then we're going to come into a Sphinx pose. We can make it a supported Sphinx pose by having something to catch your head here as needed. We're going to bring our elbows underneath the shoulders in front. Depending on how much length you'd like to achieve through that front body. So the further away those elbows are, the longer, more gradual that curve is through the as they come in, we start to lift the heart even further away from the ground. So find your place, and then perhaps you can let that head and the neck go. So that you're finding this spot where there's this gentle curve through the spine from tail all the way up to the neck. But we're not overstretching it. I'm going to use arms a little bit to bring that bolster up. There we go. Letting the pelvis sink into the earth. Shoulders away from the ears. And then slowly start to make your way down again. You can rest your forehead or turn your head to the side, wiggle out those hips. We're coming into a half frog here. So turn your head towards the left. Bring the left elbow out beside the left shoulder. And then bend that left knee so that it comes out to the side as well. You might need some padding or cushioning underneath left knee. Relax here. Really breathing and softening the abdomen and the hips towards the earth. And then slowly coming back to the center, wiggling it out. Going to the other side, turning the head to the right, right elbow out the side, right shoulder, right knee bends out to the side beside the right hip. And we breathe and soften. And slowly start to return to center. Give it a wiggle and press yourself up to prepare for a child's pose. So knees apart, toes together. It can be a supported child's pose so that either your head comes to rest on something or something comes to catch your body. Head comes off of that. If you are resting your head, it might have to turn to the side. So I'll let you know when halfway is through. Then you can switch the turn of your neck. Let the hips soften towards the heels. Release through the back of the hips. The legs be heavy. Let the shoulder blades spread across the back. And then switch sides if you were on one side. Slowly start to extract yourself from that child's pose. And now it's your turn to decide how you'd like to do your final relaxation. So, yes, you can come down to your back into Shavasana. Make sure you have blankets to avoid coldness. If you have anything to put under your knees, something over your eyes. Maybe you want to do legs at the wall or legs draped over a couch or a bed. Maybe you'd like to be on your side or even on your front. Maybe it's a meditative seat if you're gearing up for the rest of the day, although Shavasana is always nice to do as well. So, whatever you've chosen, find your way into your position, get all of your tools and props around you. Once you get to your position, sinking back into that space of your breath. Sinking back to your intention of listening, meeting your body where it's at, of exploring your true nature, coming home to yourself. Please stay here for as long as you can, as long as you'd like to. Maybe you get to slink off to bed after. And before you move from your mat, thank yourself for working on this relationship with your true essence, for endeavoring to come back home to you. I thank you all for sharing this journey with me. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.